muted. The recording should now be going. Remember to switch screens this time. Alright, so welcome back, guys, to the Wrath and Glory game, simply titled the Valhallan Crusade. As we were off for 2 weeks, I do just have a few reminders at the top of the session, both for player and any viewer benefit. So the first thing I'd like to go over is that the 40k setting is inherently a very grimdark kind of system setting, and that means that this game is going to deal with probably dark and or adult themes. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and spew out 60 minutes of and you pull out his intestines and strangle him with them. But sometimes even the mention of that weirds people out. So here's your warning.
That's for the after video with the Patreon subscribers.
So the second thing I'd like to say is that everyone present, including myself, is still relatively new to the system. Obviously, some of us have had a little bit more playtime than others because obviously I took off 2 weeks. So on the whole, we're all still learning the system. So that means we're going to make mistakes and that we're probably going to spend a little bit of time looking up or discussing the rules as needed. That said, I do want to remind everyone that the GM does have Rule 0 in that I can just make snap judgments to keep the game flowing. It's not that I'm ignoring the rules, I'm just sort of favoring the game's flow. Along those same lines, I'm going to be doing my best to stick to canon, so long as I believe it's going to be good RP. However, if you're like a super hardcore, like Eldar would never ever ever work with Monkai type person, then you might want to chill out a little bit. Again, my focus here is on fun and keeping the game moving rather than worrying if Private Johnson of the 32nd Valhallan Ice Warrior initiative is secretly afraid of Eldar. And there's a whole thing I could go into, but you get the idea. And finally, before we get into the actual game itself, now that I am back, I do not foresee any reason why this stream will not become weekly after this point. So from now on, it'll be right now at 8 p.m. EDT, which is GMT -4, on Wednesday evenings. And we will go for anywhere between 2 to 4 hours, depending on how people are feeling and how scenes are playing out. And if I have to cancel for any reason, of course, I will tweet it, hopefully the day before, but shit happens sometimes. So I would just say sort of watch Twitter if you're interested in catching us live. And of course, if you are listening on YouTube, thank you for watching there. But let's go ahead and jump into things. So as I told my players off screen, I gave them the offer that if they wanted to do a recap of the previous session, either individually or as a group, then I would let them, the players, start with a point of glory. So who would like to start tackling the recap, if anyone?
I would.
All right, go right ahead.
I recall that we began our adventure arriving in the Valhalla system. Upon our arrival, we discovered that a city, I believe it was the primary hive of the world, was under assault by 2 Onslaught-class orc escorts. The actual battle to dispatch the orc vessels was very quick and brief before we were sent by Lady Harlock herself to represent her interests with the planetary governor and to see if we can provide any assistance in exchange for supplies and recruitment rights. Upon arrival to the city, we met a porter official who greeted us. It was at this time that we met Private Johnson, who would later become a guide and escort to our mission upon request from myself, I believe it was. Might be wrong there. But after which we were eventually led to the planetary governor named Bradier, who informed us of why the city was attacked to begin with, which ended up being due to an orc that was painted in purple that had been sabotaging key infrastructural points in their planetary defense system. His focus wasn't on the orc itself, but rather whoever allowed the orc to gain access, as the systems would require more than just beyond the capabilities of one singular orcoid to infiltrate. And he gave us a list of suspects, including the tech priest Lady Ubu, and Lord Ghost. After which we first set off to communicate with Lady Ubu, who gave us badges that would provide us authentication on behalf of Lord Bradier during our investigation. After which, we ended up leaving to investigate Lord Ghost's estates. And I believe that happened before we ended up going to the arbitrator's office, and which is where our companion, for most of us, were actually in the party, but one of our companions was missing at that point, who had joined up with us at outside the arbitrator's precinct. Now I'm wondering if Kersif wants to pick up.
Sure. So after that, we went. We got a rhino from the planetary. I guess it was the PDF, and we rode that down to a down ship in the Arctic wastes, where we blew up some stuff, spent some glory, killed some guards, and then we fought the big boss, who I forget his name.
It was Lord Ghost himself.
Lord Ghost, yes, that was it. And then so we killed him and his guards. It was very quick, very easy. We took his head for ourselves, and then we fought an orc, and we recruited him as we were fighting him, and that's where we kind of left off.
Okay, very good. You guys can start with a point of glory. The only thing I'd like to add to that recap, mostly for completion's sake, is that what led you to this crashed ship that is outside on the surface is you had followed some leads about the Onyx Roses gang, and that's how you came to both realize that your quarry was outside of the city, but also that Lord Ghost was basically trying to play double agent. But yeah, good recap, guys. You earned your glory. And we're pretty much going to start off about 1 hour or so after the last bullet has been fired. So all of you are still kind of taking a rest, calming down after the battle. And at the moment, the orc, whose name you've come to learn is Fist Basha. So Fist plus Basha. He has pretty much followed whatever your orders are. But if you don't give him any, he'll just sort of stand there menacingly. As for Ghost's tome, the one he read from when he sort of spewed those blasphemous words at you, it remains where it fell. And if any of you during this hour period have tried to go near it, you've begun to hear whispers and feeling as if something is trying to claw out of the interior of your skull. So yeah, that's where we're going to drop on in. And what would you guys like to do?
First I say we destroy the book. I think we should destroy the book.
I was going to say we need a 10-foot pole.
I think Sister Rebecca should light that book on fire.
Sister Rebecca is rather lacking in the incendiary equipment at this moment.
Well, as a sorcerer as a psyker that specializes in, burning things.
Oh, right, I forgot about that.
I may be able to help. Can I spontaneously combust the book, or does that only work on living targets?
Can I just do we really want to use psychic powers on a book infected by chaos?
No, but
Karsaf
can set something else on fire, and then we just use that.
That is true.
I'll set my whip on fire, and then I'll just attack it.
Okay. Let's see. Let me preemptively pull up the psychic power rules in case we need them. But I believe it's what, a DN2 for your produce flame or whatever it is?
Yes. I believe it's not all that big. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I know is you have to make the psychic mastery test. Let's see. You have create flame, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. The DN is actually 4. Okay.
So I'll make that test now.
All right. And I believe that is a skull on the, so I have to remember everything. So that is A 1, I believe. Yeah, so that's a 1 on your wrath die. So that's...
Oh no.
Or am I reading that wrong? Hold on.
The skull is a success, isn't it?
Say again?
The skull is a 4 plus.
Skull's 1 success. So yeah, sorry. It's a chaos symbol if it's a 1. That's right. Apologies. So yeah, actually no worries. You got 4 successes. So sure enough, you can kind of flavor it as you want, but you kind of maybe snap your fingers and a little flame of whatever color you wish sort of appears above your fingertips.
Yeah, basically it'll appear on his hand, and then he'll kind of roll his hand along his whip. And by the time he's done, it'll be gone from his hand and basically on the whip. And then I will begin to furiously attack the book. The intent of burning it.
Let's see. Go ahead and actually roll me a melee attack against the book. And I'm going to make the difficulty here, even though it's a book and it should have 0 defense. I'm going to make it a 4 for reasons that may become self-evident.
Can I just note that I have
a
my gun trained on the book as well.
Okay. Well,
Actually, it's the same roll either way. Never
yeah,
mind.
I was going to say with an 8, you're going to strike that book no problem. So go ahead and let's have you roll some damage.
I forget which tab has all my weapons. It's personal? No.
I think it's equipment.
Equipment?
Wait, no, combat.
No. Combat. It's very weird. Oh, here it is. Yes, Agonizer Whip. All right. Damage.
All right, so that is a grand total of... So what's the base on that? 6? Okay. So I'll give you an extra point of damage for the whip being on fire. So you lash out at your whip and, kind of Indiana Jones style, maybe try to whip it aside or, transfer the flames to the book. And we'll say you do this a couple times. You hit it once, twice, maybe even a third time. And strangely, the tome doesn't really catch fire. It remains... Like the cover, where you strike it, obviously it leaves a little bit of soot or some sort of burn mark behind, but the book itself seems to be remaining intact.
I call for the 10-foot pole.
Why don't we just start shooting it?
Wait. Just let's look around for Promethean barrels and then put the Promethean barrel, the book on top of it, and then fire at that.
Do you want to pick up the book? Why don't we just pour Prometheum all over the book?
What if we get the orc to do it?
Oh yeah, orcs are like really resistant to chaos. All right.
But they're not immune.
Well, they're not immune, but like they are the most immune out of all of us here.
Correct.
I will turn to the orc and I'll say, "All right, listen, orc. We need you to get some Prometheum, and we need you to coat the book in it, and then set it ablaze. Does that work with you?"
So Fistbasha kind of looks at you and says, "Yous want me to use Prometheum? That Hume stuff?"
If you have something stronger, I would love for you to use it.
He kind of looks at the book and back at you and back at the book, and he says, "I will tear it apart with my own hands. Stand back, Humies."
That sounds like a bad idea.
Well, unless you physically stop him, he's actually going to start walking over towards the book.
Let's see what happens.
Not just going to get us all killed, but sure. Let's see what happens.
I'm also
At the very we actually have a better chance of killing the demon than we do the book, now that I think about it.
All right. So, you let him sort of go over to the book, and he bends down, and it's almost comical, because obviously the tome was built for human hands, not gigantic orc hands. So when he picks it up, it's sort of like he's picking up a plaything, and, picks it up, looks at it, flips it over a few times, and he shrugs and kind of waves it at you guys and says, "See? It's no problem."
I don't trust it. Wait, what were we going to get the orc to do now that he has the book?
Destroy it.
I give him a thumbs up,
All right.
or whatever the equivalent imperial gesture is.
Probably some form of the Aquila done in a thumbs up manner. Who knows?
You just lift up your thumbs in the aqua.
Oh God. All right, so yeah, Fistbasha does. He opens the book just enough to get a grip on the inside, and he begins to try and rip it apart. And his first attempt, nothing. And he looks down at the book and he looks confused. He does it again, and nothing happens. So at this point, he actually puts like his full strength into it, and you hear him straining. He goes, "Use just a book." And this will go on for as long as you let it happen.
I'll stop him at the third attempt.
Okay.
Look. Perhaps we should try the Prometheum now.
He kind of looks at the book dejectedly and says, "If that is what you think is best."
It is. Now then, is there any Prometheum around here?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because of the 6 Prometheum barrels that were being used to heat this place, currently 3 of them are acting as your current heat source. It's still pretty cold, even in the depths of this hulk. Obviously a bit warmer than the surface, but not by much. That means the remaining 3 barrels of Prometheum are either empty or just have not been tapped yet.
So let's go check it out. I'm gonna ask the orc to step away from the book for right now, but then let's go check that out, see how it is.
Okay. So Fistbasha just kind of puts the book back down, kind of scratches the back of his head, and goes back to whatever corner he's been sort of standing in whenever you don't have something for him to do. So yeah,
Okay.
You go to check out the other barrels of Prometheum, if I heard right, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and let's have one of you roll me a... you know what? Let's make this an easy D-on-1 awareness.
Who's the most aware?
I have 2 intellect, so no. That makes sense.
Very nice.
Look with
Delta.
your robot eyes.
I have a total of 4.
Oh,
What
Delta,
do my special eyes tell me?
Well, Delta, your special eyes tell you that of the 3 non-burning barrels, 2 of them are in fact empty. There's maybe a tiny bit of Prometheum left in them that you could use to start a fire, but nothing to sustain one. As for the remaining barrel, it is indeed chock full of Prometheum.
My fuel.
Wait, we need Prometheum to refuel our Rhino. Remember that.
Okay, yeah.
Is this the only one that we have left that's full?
That you're seeing at the moment, yes.
Would we like to spend some glory to get some more? We do have that extra dot.
For narrow declaration, it's Raft, though.
Oh, I mean raft, yes.
While this is happening, can I search around for some kind of like long thing that I can like hold the book with at a distance? Like a 10-foot pole or such?
Sure. And I'll say that you don't really need to look all that hard. This place is in such a mess that it's probably pretty trivial for you to find some long piece of metal or using your sister of battle power armor to just rip one off. As long as we're not talking like a 20-foot pole. If you just want like a 10-footer, that's not a big deal.
Okay, and is there any glue?
Not that I'm aware of, but, in a pinch, you could use raw Prometheum. It is a rather viscous substance.
All right, I'll see what the other guys are doing.
Okay.
So was our goal to light this whole place on fire? Because I don't think we have enough Prometheum for that and to fuel the Rhino.
I think the priority is the book.
I think the priority is for us to be able to get back to civilization.
True, yeah. But after that, the book. Or we could, try to bring it to someone who understands what's going on and lets us know if we're facing some kind of like full-scale chaos invasion or not.
We should not be bringing this book back to civilization. That is against every charter code in the book.
We will use a book to fight this book.
Find a book.
There's two other options. We could just leave it here, or we could bring it to Harlock.
Leaving it here, I don't believe is a good solution.
Yeah,
at all.
leaving it here is not good.
And then
bringing it to Harlock is also a bad solution.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the
worst case, she'd know what to do with it,
the warlock
or become
probably get
corrupted.
rid of it.
Worst case, this book is a trap.
Oh, I have an idea. What if we go back to we leave the book where people can't find it in the ship? We go back to civilization. We call up Harlock, and we negotiate some kind of spaceship macro cannon barrage.
How about instead?
It's the only way to be safe.
Well, instead of that, how about we leave half of us here, then we go back and we talk to Harlock, and then that way we can be sure that no one gets the book until we actually want them to start bombarding, because
But
they
we want
may
to make sure
actually
that they do leave before the bombardment starts.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We then come back because we'll be in civilization. We can refuel, and then we can come back, pick the rest of us up, and then we can leave and make sure basically that no one ever gets it.
We'd also have to negotiate, talk to the who is it? Who's in charge on the planet?
That would be Planetary Governor Bradier.
Right. We'd have to make sure he knows and agrees so that he doesn't think we're attacking his planet.
Wow.
Well, I still believe that it'd be safer to leave a group here because there are still actually, scum and stuff in here, in the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
And
we should definitely send a social person back to civilization.
Yes. And actually, what we can do is we can also, since I have my ship on Harlock's ship, we can call that down with some of my corsairs, and that will help us, guard this area. And then when we need to leave, we can just depart on that, rather than having to have you guys all come back and pick us up.
So, not to interrupt you guys or anything, but at this point, you do get a chime on your shared Vox channel, or at least one of the channels you would have provided for people to reach you on the planet.
I'll open up the Vox. Yes?
And the voice you hear is Private Johnson. For sake of argument, we'll say that Johnson has been sort of guarding the Rhino this entire time. And we'll also put Sarah May out there as well, since Sarah May is unable to join us tonight unless they get off early. So Johnson very shakily sort of tells you, sirs, it looks like we've got a high storm approaching us. I don't think we're going to be able to make it back in time to the capital before it hits.
We're gonna have to bunker down, aren't we?
Hold the line. And Biff is going to look at Karsef and Becca Delta and the rest of whoever's with us, if I missed anyone, and relay that information. Storm's coming in. Just got the word. Taps the microbead.
Can I analyze the ship and see if it could survive a storm of whatever magnitude they're describing?
Well, there's a few ways we can go about this, I think. If you're trying to recall any information about the storm that you might have heard in passing, or maybe you did a little bit of reading on Valhalla ahead of time, I would say that could be a scholar test.
Okay.
Alternatively, if you sort of want to think back to the state of the Hulk that you found on the exterior and what you found in the interior and kind of do a comparison, I would say that would maybe be... you know what? I could say that could also be a tech test, I think.
Okay, I'll do a tech test to see if I can determine if this place is safe to bunker down in.
Okay. Let us make the DN on this. Let's make it a 3. Let you pass with no problem. So, Delta, you believe, based on what you've seen, I mean, obviously the Hulk is not in an amazing shape, but it stands to reason that if one storm has hit it before, it'll survive another no problem. It's not like you're finding, broken skylights into the atmosphere or passageways that are completely just sort of crumbling. However, I would say at this point, Sarah May will get on the line and to all of you, not just to Biff, and she will say, what Johnson is omitting for whatever stupid Monkai reason is that these Highstorms are apparently some sort of uncommon occurrence on Valhalla. From his poor detail, from what I can tell, he says it's something like a massive wall of ice and bone-shattering cold and squalling winds. Based on what I know of the planet and my experience in survival, I don't think we want to be even in the Rhino when it happens.
But I mean, like, we could be in this Hulk that we're in.
Oh yeah, the Hulk will probably be fine, but we're gonna need to find a heat source if what he says is true.
How many... Are we able to contact the ship at all?
I would say at this point, yes, you can get a clear line up to the Spear of Destiny.
And how long would it take for a ship to get down here?
I would say on
time.
average, it usually takes about 2 to 3 hours to come down.
So we wouldn't have enough time?
Yeah, you wouldn't have the time before the storm would hit.
Alright, and I'm assuming it wouldn't be able to come in while the storm was here, obviously.
That is probably a fair assumption, yeah.
Do I know how long these storms typically last?
And at this point, Johnson sort of gets back on the line himself, apparently not being thrilled at being shown up by an Eldar, and says, yeah, typical high storm will last anywhere between 4 and 12 hours. Sometimes more, even. It just kind of really depends on the high storm.
Then we should bunker down in here. We would not be in any danger of starving to death over
all
such a
these
short
corpses.
period of time.
Indeed. How about we also give a message out to the ship? I'm assuming our Rhino, well, we either won't have enough fuel for it, or it'll be too frozen to be useful afterwards. So we should have a ship waiting to pick us up once the storm sets off.
Do you have some way of sending a signal back up to the Harlock ship?
Okay. So, you bounce a signal up to the Spear of Destiny, and sure enough, you get Harlock's yeoman. Her yeoman is... what did I make his name? Charles V. And he is very insistent about you using the Fifth whenever you say his name, for whatever reason. And Charles V says, yes, ground team, what can we do for you?
Can I ask a question of Charles V?
You certainly can ask a question of Charles V.
Charles V, are you the 5th Charles or the 5th yeoman?
Yes.
You don't have time for such ridiculous questions. Charles V, status report for Captain Harlock. We have determined the cause of corruption on the planet, but there's a storm that's going to hit us. We're on a space hulk outside of town, outside of the city. We're going to hunker down until the frost storm passes, but our mode of transportation probably will not survive. We would like a lighter to be prepared to pick us up after the storm passes over us. We are passing up coordinates now.
Alright, so he takes the coordinates and replies, very well, it shouldn't be a problem to send down a shuttle or equivalent thereof to pick you up after the storm. Would you prefer that we sent down Karsef's lander, or should we send down an Imperium one?
Imperial lander would be fine.
Understood. Simply transmit a signal when the storm has cleared, and it will be ready and waiting.
Can we get an orbital drop?
Out of character would depend on what you want in the orbital drop.
Just like some basic survival supplies.
Fuel.
Brownies.
Yeah, brownies. Let's see. I would say it's possible for you to get an orbital drop, but as with many things orbital, there is a margin of error here. It's kind of the reason why we don't always use Exterminatus class weaponry to shoot a specific target, because if you're off by even a tiny bit up in space, you could overshoot by kilometers.
Okay.
Kill someone by accident with a supply drop.
The
It lands directly on us.
And I say, Okay, Charlie 5th, you will be in contact when the storm has passed.
Understood. Spear of
I'll
Destiny
score the
out.
line.
Bye, Charlie 5.
We should bunker up this open door that we came in through.
Do we know how much of the Hulk have we explored?
I would say probably about 10% of it.
Yeah, we've only really gone to this room, killed some people, and then have tried to destroy the book.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
All right,
last
I'd like
session-
to lead some kind of expedition into the rest of the ship to try to find some supplies.
Let's head towards the engines.
We should definitely move towards the center of the Hulk to survive the...
While you guys
But what do we do with the book?
explore, Biff is gonna go ahead and work with Private Johnson to fuel up the Rhino and bring it inside.
Okay.
Well, let's have the orc keep the book with him for now, I think.
Do we
I
trust
concur.
him?
Not so much trust as I don't trust any of us to ever hold it.
You don't trust me,
guess.
Karasef, to hold a book.
But maybe
don't
we
trust
should
you,
have
Dick.
someone keep an eye on the orc.
I'll keep an eye on him.
Okay.
He is my recruit. I will take good care of him.
All right. So, let's see. So we have Karseth chilling with the orc. Abeka, you are going on a search, yeah?
I think all of us are moving, trying to find a way to move closer to the center of the Hulk so that we survive the winter storm a little better.
Okay.
We're on the outskirts now, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, I would like those of you searching, go ahead and give me another awareness from each of you. This time I'm going to make the DN a 4.
Would I get to test since I'm watching the orc?
I would say no, simply because you are probably preoccupied with making sure he doesn't explode into demons.
Makes sense.
All right, so we got
I wish-
success from Delta.
I wish the other elder was here. They actually have Scythians.
Yes, Sarah May, if need be, I'll play Sarah May further, but we'll see what happens. So,
We gained a point of glory, by the way.
yeah. Who are we missing? Biff, you were going to help the Rhino then. Yeah,
I'm focusing on the Rhino and with Private Johnson, our escort. And while everyone's exploring, I want to kind of just gather what supplies I can from the main room we entered in and along the way to wherever they're ending up at.
Right. Sorry, I gotta remember the voices. All right, so let's resolve Delta and Sister Abeka's thing first. So, Sister, you kind of go down a few passageways, take a few calculated turns, start to look for anything that would resemble a passageway deeper into the Hulk and presumably better shelter from the elements, but you seem to keep running into dead ends or collapsed corridors, basically things that would prevent your progress forward. So you actually don't find anything of use. Delta, though. Delta, you find what appears to be, or what used to be anyways, some form of Imperial control room. Sort of a reminder that usually orc ships are some sort of kitabosh between whatever materials and technology they have on hand. So this room looks like it may have once belonged to some form of computer room, or I guess in 40k terms, a data terminal or a data shrine. It is big enough for all of you, but I would say if you wanted to get the orc in there with you, it would be pretty cramped.
That would be
Already can
sufficient.
take it.
That's the thing is I find the most efficient solution, right? So I don't care about personal space. I'll stand literally right next to somebody for hours on end. So to me this seems like the perfect solution. We'll all cram into this data room. Is there any power? Is it all off?
You have not checked if there's power yet.
Are the terminals active or?
Oh no!
Are
They
all
are
on?
definitely dark.
I'm gonna see if I can find a way to boot up one of these terminals, and maybe we can get like a manifest of what's here or whatever.
Okay. Let's make this a tech test. Make the DN. You know what? Let's make it a DN5. So that way it's a little challenging.
That's good. I'm gonna spend a point of glory to give me. Oh, I can do it after, right? To that extra dice.
I
I don't have to do it before, right?
Let me see. Where are my notes on glory?
I spend wrath to re-roll, but not the glory dice, right?
Yeah. So let's see. Glory can be spent to increase dice pool, increase damage, increase severity of critical hit, and seizing the initiative. So I think you have to spend the glory before.
Okay, so I'll spend one to give myself one bonus die.
Okay.
No, I didn't need
Hey,
it.
look at that. 8. Very nice. All right, so yeah, Delta, despite the ancient age of this machine and the, I would say, damaged power supply you find attached to it, your skill with the machine spirit and your Mechanicus knowledge, you are able not only to repair the power cell and get the terminal up and running, but you are also able to switch it from the mode that the orcs had it in. So before, when the terminal first boots up, it sort of shows orc symbology, but all you have to do is basically do a fancy keystroke, a little percussive maintenance, and it's now back into the low gothic that you would expect.
I sing the hymn of rebooting.
But yeah, you're looking at a data shrine, and it's sort of just waiting for user input at this point.
Yeah, so I see kind of data might be. So, like, is there like a manifest of the stuff on the, or like what ship this particular console originally came from, or some information about what this Hulk is.
Okay.
And
What kind of ship maybe was it part of? Before? Maybe that's the part of this. Maybe that's like, there's still a piece of that in the Hulk somewhere.
Yeah, I gotcha. And sort of to answer your question, what you find is that this terminal believes that it is still a part of the Firestorm, where did I write this down? A Dauntless class vessel. So I don't think you would know of the Firestorm offhand, but
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. I would probably ask the machine what its current mission is or something like that.
All right. So you input that query, and the machine spirit replies that the Dauntless class vessel was currently en route between the Valhallan system and the planet of, as I pull up our sector map, which I put where? There it is. It was between the world of Valhalla and Hesnoria. And I would say that part of your briefing with Harlock, you guys should again have a sector map in Roll20 handouts. And I guess I'll show it for the people on stream too. Probably be a good thing. So if you look at the bottom left, you'll see Valhalla has the capital world. And then if you look to the northwest, you'll see Hesnora, the agri world.
Oh, so there should be food here if it's going between Hesnora and Valhalla.
Yes, but the one thing I will say,
I'll see if the machine spirit can like locate like through the power conduits where the cargo bay is.
All right. Before I have you roll for that, though, I will say that the date of the terminal, or at least the date that it is displaying, is from somewhere mid M41. So you're dealing with at least 500 plus more years of when this terminal was in service.
Guard rations never go bad.
Yeah, exactly.
This is true.
A cardboard.
Okay.
I'm just looking for nutrients. That's all I'm looking for, in case the storm is much longer than 24 hours.
Okay.
Could you also check if there's a heating system?
Do we have much time for the storm's gonna hit? Like,
You've got about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Let me roll for it. Let me roll. We'll just go ahead and roll a 1d60. Yeah, you got 54 minutes before the storm hits.
Okay, that should be time to like find at least one extra piece of. Maybe I could find a bigger cargo hold than this shrine to sit in. Right.
Possibly.
The worst case. So that's what I'll try to do, and then that'll be it for my scene with the data terminal.
Okay, so we'll say you keep working on that. We're gonna cut to Biff, with you outside joining Sarah May and Private Johnson. And before, well, I guess as you approach, Sarah May does meet you like halfway and says, "So I wasn't gonna say this over open comms, but what are we gonna do about Johnson?"
What about Johnson? This is going to say absent-mindedly.
He knows too much.
She kind of looks at you quizzically as if, you're missing something extremely obvious and says, "We have an orc with us. Valhallans will do everything in their power to kill an orc deader than dead whenever they see one."
That's easy. We just won't let him see him.
Do we have any tan paint?
Do you have any purple paint?
I think he is already purple.
He is already purple.
Then he's already hidden.
I'm going to
There we
reassure... Biff is going to reassure Sarah May. He's like, don't worry, I'll keep him distracted. You just make sure the others get word. Keep him out of sight.
He'll ride on top of the rhino on the ride back.
I feel like we are simply delaying the inevitable, but we don't really have time to argue.
And today there's more of us than there is of him.
That is actually a very wise insight. And she kind of looks back at the rhino and looks back at the entrance to the Hulk and says, "So do we want to park it inside, right sort of at the entrance, or?"
Yeah, we're going to bring it into to the entrance. We're going to have to run it at some point. Keep the engines warm. Don't want to choke us out with the exhaust fumes any deeper.
So at this point, she turns and kind of does a circular motion above her head at Private Johnson, and Johnson gets the idea. He steps inside the rhino, closes the back hatch, fires her on up, and begins steering the rhino towards you two.
At which point, Biff and Sarah May are going to just walk alongside the rhino, leading it inside and guiding it to an advantageous position.
Okay.
At which point, Biff will join Private Johnson within the rhino, and we're just going to reminisce about being human and playing cards.
Okay. Certainly. Johnson seems to be a pleasant individual. When you mention cards, he's like, "What game are we playing?"
5 card stud.
Yeah, 5-card stud. There we go.
Can't say I've ever played that, but I am a quick learner.
Oh, pull up a seat.
All right.
5 rules.
I'm
going to ask.
He just kind of looks at you like he has no idea what you're playing.
I do as well. I go, what is Hive rules?
If you got to ask, he'll never know. I'm going to say with a wolfish smile.
Okay, but I'm not playing any more strip poker.
I thought you had fun last time.
Doesn't work well with power armor.
Oh, you're no fun. How about you, Johnson? Give him a wink.
He looks at you like you're either insane or perhaps not well, and he says, "No, none of that for me, thanks."
I see how it is. We're going to play Spire rules then.
The hell's Spire?
You know, like a Hive Spire, nobles being bratty, being too prude. I'm going to roll my eyes at both of them.
Just deal the cards.
I'm going to start dealing the cards.
All right. And at this point, we're actually going to cut to Karseth and Fistbasha. So, Karseth, you've obviously been keeping look over your new orc ward, as it were. And you've noticed a few times that the orc kind of looks down at his hand that's holding the book. And it's, at first it's like a fleeting glance. He just kind of looks down very quickly, then looks back up to whatever he was doing. But those looks get longer and longer and longer. To which point I would say there's a point where he is literally spending a couple minutes just staring at it.
Once I noticed him, what do you call it? Like doing it.
Uh-oh, you cut out for us.
Oh, sorry. Once it started like going on for like a little bit longer, it started to become like a noticeable thing. I would have asked Sarah May to come up and join us because science, and then in the meantime.
Nope, you cut off after a meantime again.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. In the meantime, I'll just kind of speak to the orc myself and say, "Orc, is something the matter?"
It's funny, boss. I think this book is trying to speak to me.
Why don't you go set it down somewhere, and we'll just keep watching on it from afar?
If that is what you thinks is best.
It is.
Right,
That book is dangerous, and, well, we cannot let it out of our sight. However, being near it is also quite dangerous.
He shrugs his shoulders and goes to put it down, and I would say I'd like you to roll me a insight, because I believe insight in this system is body language and stuff, and I'll double check that as you roll. But let's go ahead and make the difficulty number here a 3. Ooh.
Damn.
Okay.
Oof.
So, yeah, you just sort of see him go over, put the book down, and come on back over to you. You don't really notice anything out of the ordinary.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. Well, let's hope, what do you call it? The other Eldar gets here in time.
Yeah. So, Sarah May is able to join you very quickly, and she kind of looks at you and says, yes, what is it? What do we need exactly?
I would like you to use your spectral sight upon the orc and the book. I want to know what we're dealing with here.
All right. So she kind of looks over everyone and closes her eyes, and hopefully Nelixon does not mind me embellishing this a little bit, but kind of closes her eyes and then opens them again, and her eyes kind of flood with a light as she attempts to kind of pierce the veil and see the psychic potential and the psychic eddies around her. So, let's see, page 352. Alright, and what is the DN? The DN is only a 2. Very nice. Alright, so, let's see what happens. Hey, she's got it, no problem. And let me make sure how much I need to tell you. Detect and point out such phenomena in sight. Okay. So after a moment of her eyes flaring with a brilliant, we'll say green light, she blinks and they return to normal. And she says to you, Karaseth, she says, well, as it's probably obvious, that book is a font of psychic potential. The green skin has some residual warp energy about him, but I don't think we need to worry about him bursting into demons at this point.
Oh, good. Well, how about you stay near then for right now? Just in case anything were to happen and the book does something. We don't know the extent of its abilities thus far.
She nods, and under her breath, as she kind of goes a little bit closer to the book to keep a vigil on it, obviously not next to it per se, but nearer than she was, you hear her mumble, "What I wouldn't give for a Wrathbone cage right now. Be easy to lock this thing up in it."
And I suppose we'll just continue keeping watch over it.
Alrighty. So, Delta, since you were so quick in your work, I will give you the option of searching again if you so wished. Otherwise, you'll need to start calling people in so that they all can arrive at your data room.
Yeah, so I'll give it a one more go to find that cargo hold.
Okay.
So that would be what, an awareness check?
Yep, another awareness test, and it would be DN5.
Good luck.
Oh, I believe that gives me a point of ruin, does it not?
It does.
Well, it
But you're
doesn't matter.
maxed out.
Yeah, I'm maxed out. Okay. So here's what's gonna happen, Delta. As you go searching for this cargo bay, you get about 5 minutes in down a corridor, and then all of a sudden the wall next to you bursts, and a pile of debris falls upon you. So I believe, is dodge still a skill? It is not. Oh, that's right, because I actually have to roll against your defense. Let me do that. What is your defense?
2.
2. Okay. You know what? Let's just make it this. All right. Good news. It misses you completely. You are able to step out of the way of this falling debris in time, and it's not enough to like clog up the corridor, so you can easily go back the way you came. However, when you do kind of look at what almost fell on you, you do see that it is not only an assemblage of metal, but of limbs. Limbs of creatures, of orcs, of humans, and then of beasts. And, if you were to then look at the wall where this all came from, you see in the room beyond that it is like some sort of hellish, almost experimental lab, almost as if it was meant to test the grafting of limbs to other limbs. It's a very grisly sight, and you're only seeing so much of it because of the lighting. But I think you would be able to tell with your Skitarii knowledge that this is a flesh crafting or similar lab that you're looking at.
This might be useful. Do we have Vox beads? Can we talk to each other?
Yeah, I would say it's a given that you all have a Vox channel that is just you guys, and then you have one for external use. So you guys can still remain in contact with each other unless I say otherwise.
Okay. I will explain that I found the room, and I'll describe the instructions on how to get there from the main chamber, and say that would probably be good shelter from the storm, and that I'll meet them there shortly. And I'm going to investigate this flesh crafter room.
Okay. Remind me, do you have anything resembling a flashlight? And I don't mean the actual las gun, I mean like a literal torch or a flashlight.
Good question. Let me see what I got. I've got the diagnosticator device. I don't think that provides any light. Yeah, I don't think I can see.
Okay.
But it's just like really dark, or is it like pitch black?
Oh, it is pitch black. There is no lighting inside.
But I wouldn't even see that the room had anything in it. So
I would say you could see a little bit of the ways in, but let's just say that you see maybe 2 or 3 feet into the room, and based on the equipment you're seeing, you'd make that assumption. But after that 3 feet, it very quickly trails into pitch blackness.
Okay. I'll go back to the computer to meet the team.
Okay.
Okay. Personal note. First thing we do when we get back to civilization is get some flashlights.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, I don't have a flashlight. I have like no equipment. I'm like walking around naked right now.
I do have prey sense lenses, which I believe are night vision goggles.
They are indeed. I think they work both on thermal and I forget the other one, but yes, they're basically dark vision.
But he didn't tell me about the murder room, right?
I keep that information to myself.
Okay.
All right. So, as all of you begin to start heading that way towards the data room, I do have a couple very important questions. First off, what are you doing with Fistbasha? And second, what are you doing with the book?
Well, Fistbasher can mostly just stay with us, but the book is what's like concerning.
Well, again, I will remind you that it is highly likely that if Fistbasha is seen by Private Johnson, that there will be a skirmish, and it is likely that one of them will kill the other.
I want to use Persuade to make Private Johnson play strip games with us.
Yes, keep him occupied the entirety of the storm.
That's my goal, and maybe Sister Rebecca can do a combined action to help me with that.
Well, you guys are all supposed to join me in the center of this Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm staying in the Rhino with Johnson.
The Rhino wouldn't survive the storm.
Well, they already got it
Yeah.
back inside the Hulk itself.
Yeah, it is inside. The Rhino is somewhat inside the Hulk, but it's sort of like a garage situation where it is if you've gone maybe, I don't know, maybe 5-10 meters inside and there's no real way to shut a door over this opening. So you are more exposed in the Rhino than you would be at the data room.
I'll risk it.
Okay. So in that case, let's actually start splitting people into groups. So who is going to be going to the data shrine?
I will.
Okay, yeah, if you're
Aw.
going to the data shrine, put yourself on the left.
I've got the dark vision.
Yeah. Put yourself on the left if you're going to the data shrine, and put yourself on the right if you're going to stay at the Rhino.
Out of universe or in universe reasons, I don't want to lose at strip poker.
All right.
Or
Especially during an ice storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm playing with Private Johnson.
Phrasing.
That was not
That would keep
intentional.
them separate.
All right, let's get Johnson on here, and then let me grab Fistbasha. Let's get him on here. Where is he? All right, get him bigger. Actually, give him a proper name.
Yeah, guys, seriously, I'm just trying. I want to keep the Orc and Private Johnson alive.
Exactly. I put a lot of effort into getting that orc for us. All right. He took all of my time and resources. It definitely wasn't just a quick test.
Honestly, I'm not concerned with the Orc survival. I'm pretty sure it's really more along the lines of if he killed Private Johnson or not.
I don't really care about Private Johnson, to be honest. He seems nice, but he's just a human.
Do you care about Johnson's privates?
Oh God. All right,
There's a
so
reason-
Strip poker.
There's a reason.
moving on. All right. So, what's going to happen then with the group splitting like this is Sarah May will join those of you in the data room, but first, what she'll do is she'll hop out. She'll obtain the one Prometheus canister or barrel that was in the room where the ghost conflict was taking place or had taken place, and she brings the Promethium into the Rhino and says, "Look, I don't think Johnson was kidding when he said it was going to be bone-shatteringly cold. Use this as much as you can, and for the love of..." And she kind of hesitates and then, almost in a begrudging way, says, "For the love of your precious God Emperor, if you start to freeze to death, either say something over Vox or come to us, because you know what, I'm just going to leave it at that." And she departs without another word, even if you try to stop her. And moments later, well, not moments later, probably about 5-10 minutes later, Sarah May arrives at the data room, carrying with her another barrel of Promethium. And she sort of wheels it into the center of the room and says, "Well, this is about all I could find during the hour we had. We're just going to have to hope the barrel lasts."
I'd like to ask Delta if he managed to get the heat running in the ship.
I have the power on in this room, but the heat would have been dealt by the like the spheric components. So I doubt that is connected anymore.
Fair enough. I go, man,
I mean, I'll pose it to the computer. Can I pose the computer and see if I can get some heat turned on?
Yeah, so
It should be a little hotter than usual anyway, because I've got the power running. But
I would say that you certainly try and get the computer to give you anything useful, but it seems it is a very one singular purpose type terminal where it is just a catalog of grains and food and things of that nature. It doesn't seem really to be designed for, other system sort of connectivity. And because I forgot, or at least I didn't hear it, is the tome with the data room group, or was it left sort of in the middle somewhere?
the orc was holding it. So we're sitting inside this data room with it, I guess.
With it? With it, like, near us?
Yeah, it's like the orc is like probably holding it in his lap or whatever.
And how far away are we from the orc?
I would say
Probably like 2 feet.
yeah, the room is you're definitely within a meter of the orc, and that's why I'm asking the question.
That's probably not good.
Me
I
and
mean, it's the
him
best
can
solution I
walk-
could come up with.
Me and him can walk. Well, just go idle somewhere else in the meantime.
I'd like to say, Delta, wow, like, you found all this. I was searching for a while. I couldn't find anything, even with my helmet that lets me see in the dark. Did you find anything else?
There are a couple of collapsed corridors up ahead. Nothing of interest.
Huh. Okay.
All right. So, it is at this point across all groups, and I guess Biff, you're gonna see it out of the front of the Rhino, since you are the one most towards the exterior and one with an actual view. You see, rushing towards the Hulk in the distance is quite literally a wall of churning ice, and it is massive. And in fact, massive is probably too small of a word. It seems that this wall extends all the way up past whatever clouds were there before, and it just rushes at you. The speed is unnatural, and after a moment, the wave hits you. And even though you're in the Rhino, immediately you hear and feel in your bones this immense cold, and there is a battering, almost I hesitate to say storm again, but a whirlwind of ice and debris that begins clattering not only against the hull of the Hulk, but the hull of the Rhino. And it just keeps going. Like, this phenomena just keeps pounding and pounding away. And not even 3 minutes into this phenomena, there is a massive jolt throughout the Rhino as something very large smacks into it. Meanwhile, those of you in the data room, when this hits, it's subdued, but you still hear all around you the Hulk being assaulted by this storm. And Fistbasha kind of looks up at it. And I'll say, for sake of argument, that Fistbash is just out in the corridor a little bit of ways away from you guys. Obviously still within eyesight, but not enough that I have to have you guys worry about the tome. And as you kind of look around, and Fistbasha looks up and says, "It's a strange sound, Humies. How long we's gonna be in here?"
What did Johnson say? Like 4 to 12 hours?
Something
Anywhere
like that.
within 4 and 24 hours.
As long as we have to.
Well, should not be problem for me. I am an orc. We are tough stuff. And then he looks down at the book again.
Say, if you're so very, very tough, Fistbasha, Would you mind standing out in the corridor?
I mean, he is already.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, that's why I got him in the middle. So yeah.
Then you're good where you are. Thumbs up.
I suppose I should probably stay with him.
Well, I mean, if I had to draw this real fast, so the room you're in is like this, and we'll say this is the wall. The corridors are large enough that he can be just literally against this wall, and he's out of range of any sort of psychic phenomena of you guys with the book.
Where would you say the murder room is?
The murder room. Let me clear this drawing so I can draw a little bit bigger. Let's see. So we'll do it in blue. Yeah, blue will be fine. All right, so let's say you're here. This is your blue X. The murder room is somewhere there.
Okay.
And the reason you can't just go straight from point A to point B is because all the corridors that would give you a direct route are either blocked, damaged, or otherwise impassable.
All right.
All right. So, the very first thing we need to do, now that the storm has hit, is I need everyone to well, this is gonna, the DN will be different, so I'll describe what's going on. So in Wrath and Glory, the recommended mechanic for extreme cold and extreme heat is a test every hour. Now, obviously, I'm not going to tell you how long this Highstorm is going to be going for. However, I don't want to literally spend like 70 rolls on this. So we're going to reduce it to 4 rolls overall. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a DN of 4. And all of you will be rolling a toughness test. Well, let me take that back a little bit. Biff and Johnson will be rolling a DN of 4. The rest of you are only rolling a DN of 3 because you're a little bit more sheltered. And if you fail this toughness test, then you will be considered exhausted until you either gain a regroup, which is basically a short rest, or a respite, which is basically a long rest. It also means that if you're exhausted, you can only do a basic move, a regular action, or disengage. You can't do all of them. And if you suffer any failures past this, so if you get exhausted and then fail again, you're going to start taking mortal wounds. So obviously you're going to want to probably pass these toughness tests. So really it's just a matter of which of you would like to start rolling first.
I'll go.
Alrighty. Alright,
and how many?
Rebecca, you're fine.
Is this just for the first hour?
Well, it's for an undetermined amount of time, yes. Karaseth, you're good, and I believe you also get a point of glory for that.
Woot.
Guess I'll roll for Sarah May here. Alright, so Delta Epsilon, you are now considered exhausted.
I'll spend a point of wrath for roll failure.
Okay.
So I'm up to 3 now.
Yeah, well, the 3 is all you needed.
The flesh is weak, but the machine is strong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I get bonuses in, like, harsh weather.
Mel, that might be something
Yeah, I
you
get
want to
plus
figure out.
3 to toughness roll resist environmental hazards.
Oh, well, this would certainly qualify.
Yeah. But I pass anyways, it's fine.
Yeah, you passed. So right now you're passing, you're fine. Let's see, Sarah May. Sarah May's fine. All right, that just leaves, I believe, Biff and Johnson.
I'm going to spend a point of glory to add a bonus dice.
Okay, so you're back down to 1 glory.
And are we receiving bonus die or like a reduced difficulty fact that we're like in the
Yeah, that's what I'm actually
Yeah.
throwing on this map right now. Is I'm throwing text on there so we don't get confused. Inside data room.
Okay, I failed.
Okay. Yep, you failed. So let me finish putting this on the map, and then I'll explain what's going on.
While this is happening, I'd like to sing a hymn to keep our spirits up.
Okay.
Ode to the utter destruction of the foul Xenos in his name.
It's a good hymn. It's a very good hymn. All right, and then inside Rhino, fire DN. All right, and there you go. Okay, so narratively, here's what happens in the Rhino. So, I guess I do need to roll for Johnson. 1 second. Johnson, you have a grand total of that many dice. Why is the macro not working? There it goes. All right, so, okay, thanks, Johnson. All right, so here's what happens. You hear another thunderous crash as something even bigger than the first one hit the Rhino. And this time, you literally hear the scraping of metal against metal as the Rhino is pushed or jolted a good 2 to 3 meters from where it had been originally. And you realize moments later that the hull of the Rhino has been split open, and what little protection it had provided before is now beginning to ebb away, and the cold just sort of seeps in, and it is like, I'm trying to figure out a way to describe this. It is similar to having a cool knife that is being pressed through your skin and right into the bones themselves. And along the length of this imaginary knife, the freezing effect spreads throughout your entire body. And it is the coldest thing you have ever experienced in your life. And even Johnson, a seasoned Valhallan ice warrior, is beginning to chatter his teeth and, rubbing his limbs, trying to get warmth into them. But you're just not having a good time.
I would like to make a comment on that.
Sure, go right ahead.
Biff is going to start, shaking his teeth and whatnot, and he's going to say, "This reminds me of when the coolant pipes back home burst. All right, I'm going to cut Fox ahead, and that'll be my focused objective, relating back to my homeworld." And then I'm going to go ahead on the Fox, guys. I got to come in. It's too much out here. Rhino's toast, by the way. Sorry.
All right, who wants to go get him?
Sarah May will volunteer, since that's probably the easiest. And she kind of looks between you guys and Fistbasha, and then sort of questioningly points and tilts her head.
I'm sewing the giant wound the orc put in me up while we're waiting.
Oh, sure, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah. I just look up from my work and then just go back to sewing up my shoulder.
I mean, Karaseth, you can make fire. Would that be helpful in going out and getting them? I don't know.
I suppose so. However, that would leave the orc in your care. Do you care to take him?
If by take, you mean keep a trained weapon on, then yeah,
Yes.
Sure, I can handle that.
Yes. Very well, then I will go aid them.
Okay. So, Karaseth, you go ahead and start going back towards the Rhino. Delta, I have looked up the rules for Medicae, and just so you know, that the test is at a +1 DN because you are using the skill on yourself.
Yeah, it should be difficulty 4 total because it's healing a lightly wounded character.
Let's see. Yes, that is correct.
So I'm going to do it while we're waiting.
Wow. Let's see, because that'll get you another point of glory. And let's see.
I'm not allowed to shift for extra unless we're taking a short rest. Did you say I could shift for extra?
I'll allow it to happen, yeah.
Okay, so I'll go to full. I'll go plus 2 hit points.
Okay. Alrighty. So, narratively, Delta, you take the time and patch yourself up best you can, and you feel a hell of a lot better.
I don't even have to do the sewing. Like, I got a mechadendrite that, like, comes out of my cloak and then, like, goes onto my shoulder and starts to, like, mend the flesh together.
Alright. I like it.
I have to, like, sit there and concentrate.
Yeah. And you've got time for it, and because you passed your toughness test, you're not distracted at all by the cold. But
and afterwards, I look over at Sister Rebecca and I say, "That is better."
Mm-hmm.
It is a beautiful hymn.
Thank you.
It reminds me of the Hymn of Rebooting. Have you heard it?
I haven't. Please sing it for me.
I will regale her with the Hymn of Rebooting.
So I'm curious, is that just a stream of binary, or...
A stream of binary to, like, a certain tune.
And
it actually causes,
by
it actually causes all the screens in the room that are on to, like, flicker on and off.
Punctuated by just, like, hitting random things. Turn on, you goddamn motherfucker.
You mean pushing buttons in a non-linear order?
I was thinking more like the Fonz, like turning on the jukebox. Or like smacking
like
it.
Bump the machine.
I mean, you're really not wrong. There's many, many ways we can think of this. But Karseth, and I'm going to do a little bit of token management here, so don't worry about you being moved. So move you guys there. Oh, too far. Move you guys there-ish. Alright, so Karseth, you get about halfway between the two groups. When you hear, or your keen hearing from all around you, it sounds like something whispering. Or maybe it's a distant scream. You're really not sure. It's a very faint, yet ebbing and flowing noise that is somehow different than the raging storm. It's very unnatural. Would you... Like, how would you react to that sort of thing?
Karseth is going to, oddly consider this and, will actually vox up whoever is closest to him, which I would assume be the group that was back in the info area.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll vox them up and say, excuse me, have you heard anything lately? Voices, that is.
Wait, sorry, is she boxing like Biff and...
No.
No, the one...
It's the Sister
the
Rebecca,
Skitarii,
Delta, and Sarah May.
Yeah, the Skitarii and the sister, basically.
I go, no, nothing besides, us.
Keep an eye on the orc and the book, most importantly. I believe there is more to the corruption of this place than, it seems at first sight.
Right, Fist Basher, you hear any more voices?
What? And he kind of starts looking up from the book and says, no, I's not hearing any voices.
Good. Okay.
Oh, and before I forget, I would recommend having the orc set the book down somewhere. He shouldn't be holding it for long periods of time, resistant though he may be.
Okay, Fist Basher, we're just going to need you to put the book down, just, on the ground. Don't touch it for a while, okay?
I would also recommend keeping him as far away from it when it is on the ground.
So he very reluctantly begins to put it on the ground, and Sister Rebecca, I'd like you to roll me an insight DN4.
Okay.
Alright, you
Damn.
see him hesitantly put the book down, but nothing more. Meanwhile,
I give him like the narrow eyes, but that's
yeah.
it.
Meanwhile, Karseth, unless you stop to try to discern the source of the noise, let's just say you continue onward. And you get, I'll say, 3/4 of the way there at this point. So it is conceivable that Biff and Johnson could meet you within moments. This time, you hear from right behind you, like imagine someone has put either themselves or a big old speaker right behind your skull, and there is a blast of a blood-curdling scream.
Karseth will unfurl his agonizer and like strike the area behind him.
All right, so you whirl on the spot and slash with your whip, and you find nothing. In fact, the only thing in this corridor is you.
I'll vox Sarah May and ask her to use her sight and see if she notices anything out of the ordinary in the area. And then I'm going to hurry to get to the others in the Rhino.
Okay. So Sarah May will do that, but let's resolve you guys at the Rhino. So Biff and Johnson, would you leave the Rhino and meet them halfway, or would you wait for them to get to you first?
No, I wasn't waiting. Me and Johnson are already on our way.
Okay. So in that case, we'll say probably about 2 minutes after the whole scream at the back of the head, you run into Karseth.
I'm going to be shivering and be completely pale in the face by this point. I did not dress appropriately for this weather.
Karseth will notice the Monkai's pitiful appearance and say, "Come here, I will heat you up. We can go meet back up where we killed the Lord before. There should still be some burning promethium to warm your bones, and I will cast flame on myself and basically hold it near him as a source."
All right, go ahead and roll your test.
Well, hell, you can at least buy me a drink first. You're going to say, freezing.
I get rid of the flame.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, no ones on Wrath die, and that's what matters. So yeah, all of that happens.
Alright, so you now have a small flame near you, giving you some warmth as I escort you to the burning promethium tanks from before.
Okay.
Just me and Johnson are just going to be looking like completely pathetic. Like we just fell into a lake of water that was just frozen and drenched. Just miserable look.
All right. So, some time will pass here. I will say probably another 2 hours will pass before we do our next test. So is there anything anyone wants to accomplish in that 2-hour time span?
Do I hear any more voices?
That is a good question, and I'm glad you asked. I would say, instead of you hearing voices this time, Sister Rebecca, you hear whispers. And unlike the ones Karseth was hearing, where it's kind of an indeterminate sound at a distance where you're not really able to discern what the whispers are saying, these are perfectly audible to you. And the whispers are from... How do I want to say this? They're from your past. And...
Oh, good.
There's something along the lines of, why did you leave us? We needed you. You left us to die.
Okay. Do I need to, I don't know, roll anything to be able to tell that they're not, like, my own thoughts?
I would say narratively, let's handle it narratively rather than mechanically. Simply because, well, let me ask this. Would you be actively trying to shunt out the voices, or would you simply be trying to figure out where they're coming from?
I'd say more figuring out where they come from.
Okay. I think that would be an awareness test then.
Okay.
And let's make the DN a 3. Okay. So 3 is all you needed. Yeah, you look around, Abeka, and you're pretty sure, just judging by Sarah May and Delta's faces, that they're not hearing what you're hearing. But if you had to qualify where the whispers are coming from, very similar to the scream that got Karseth, it's coming from literally right behind your skull.
Okay. I turn to Sarah May and I say, someone's putting the hoodoo on me. There is a touch of warp in the air, and I'm hearing voices. Is there anything you can do, Eldar?
There's many things I can do, sister. She kind of hesitates in the last word, but again, hopefully I'm not taking too many liberties with Sarah May. Apologies if I am. But she will at that point actually use Psyniscience again. So let's see what she rolls here.
Careful poking around in there.
Let's see. Pew. She got 2. That's all she needed. All right, so again, she closes her eyes, and when they open again, they're just sort of pure green eyes that glow with an inner light. And she looks at you, looks around at the room, looks at the book, looks at Fispasha, closes her eyes again, and when she reopens them, they're back to normal. And she says, well, I have good news, and I have bad news.
Just hit me with both.
Right. Good news. You're not going insane. Bad news. Either that tome, and she points at it, is more potent than I thought it was originally, or there is some form of psychic miasma that has been brought on by the storm.
But it's not anything that could be in the ship? Any other evil in the ship?
Well, I do have sight, but I can only sense but so far.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna, hunker down, and to the voices, all the ones saying, you left us behind. Why did you leave us? I'd just like to say, you're gonna have to be more specific.
Well, good news. The voices don't suddenly grow in intensity, at least not yet. So that's what's going on there. Meanwhile, let me see. Roll my dice. Okay. So, unless any of you choose to do anything else, we can go to our second toughness test.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, again, everybody's going to be rolling toughness against the extreme cold. This time, anyone outside of the data room is going to be rolling a DN of 5. Anyone inside the data room is going to be rolling a DN of 4.
Does the heat from the Promethean tanks in my fire help at all?
I would say it does to some degree, but it's one of the matters where the data room is deeper into the structure that it's not as easy for the cold to penetrate.
All
right, so let's go through the thing. All right, so Sister fails.
Mm-hmm.
Delta's fine. Karseth fails. Bith fails. Okay.
5 might be a little high for an attribute-only test, because I don't get to add a skill to it.
Right, and I'm trying to decide on the fly here if I should fix that. Let me real quickly double check what the rules here say.
Yeah, that's why I
Would
was
it be
kinda hoping
survival?
if the flame would do anything.
Yeah, let's take a moment here before we start giving people exhaustion around the chart and see what we can do. Let's see. Environmental page 247. Alright, let's see what we got. Countless planets possess extreme environments, yada yada yada. When characters find themselves exposed to extreme hot or cold temperatures, they must seek shelter or endure until they can reach more temperate surroundings. Character must pass a toughness test every hour of exposure time they suffer, or after a number of timed rounds equal to their character's toughness. The Game Master considers the extreme nature of the temperature to decide on the DN of the test. And then it goes on to say what happens if you fail. I mean, let's put it to a vote. My reasoning behind this is the reason it's so high is because I'm trying to impress upon you how deadly the cold is. But if you guys feel that it's starting to get into like the impossible territory, then I don't mind backing down a little bit.
Well, I'm just wondering because
It's a 3, so their average roll will be like a 2, right? So the fact that it's a 5 means that they basically have to roll 2 6s and a success to make that roll, which is basically like a very low probability. So it's about like what you want the probability of us succeeding to be. If you want it to be around half, then you should probably set it at like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Well, that and if like the storm continues and like it keeps getting it more difficult, then we're already at like 5, so we're already basically almost at the point where it's impossible at our current toughness.
Fair points. That's why we take a moment to discuss this. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Biff, I still think you would have failed the first test because you got a 2.
Correct. I rerolled with Wrath.
Yeah. So let's do it this way. Biff, you will still be exhausted. However, the DN for this, I'm going to drop significantly. Those of you in the data room are only rolling against a 2, and those of you out of it are only rolling against a 3. And
Are we re-rolling or keeping the same?
I would say if you already spent the wrath, you can take that wrath point back, and we'll use whatever your highest is. But let me go through here and see what we got. So Sister Rebecca's fine. Delta's fine. Karseth, would you like to use a wrath point to re-roll that 3?
No, because I'd probably have to roll a 6, wouldn't I, in order to pass?
No, just need one more success.
Oh, just one more success?
Yeah.
Sure. I guess I'll use one then.
Okay.
How do I re-roll just one number?
If you click the blue button that has the dice thing, it should automatically re-roll non-successes. Hey, and there you go. It's all the hits you needed. Okay.
Yay.
So, Biff, we're going to take that 3. All right. So, again, a little bit of apologies there, but, we're all learning. So, yeah, actually, everyone's fine. It has gotten colder, but thanks to Prometheum burning and maybe a little bit of psychic help from Karseth, you are indeed able to stand there. I mean, your teeth are still chattering and your breath is basically freezing, moments away from your mouth, but you aren't in any danger of death or frostbite, at least not yet. And... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you really want to be heated up, I can always make you spontaneously combust.
I'm starting to consider that possibility as a viable option.
I mean, he would be warm for the rest of his life.
Yeah, see, he's got it right.
Biff is going to have that mental image, just weighing the pros and cons. Warm or death, cold and miserable.
Oh.
A horrific death, or, dying to cold.
Oh, poor Johnson. So Johnson's going to take a mortal wound, and you would see that Johnson starts trying to put his fingers or his hands into his armpits and says, I think I'm going to lose a finger from all this. And he looks longingly at the burning promethium he's got in the barrel. And he looks down at his hand, looks back at the barrel, and says, what do you think's better, burning it or, I don't know, maybe risking frostbite?
Karseth, hug him.
You want me to burn him?
Do something.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't go out into the cold very often. Well, I go out into the cold of space, but it's a different type of cold.
Somebody's going to have to spoon the orc.
Oh, dear. Johnson, not hearing anything, what he does is he takes his right hand, and it is shaking violently, and he uses his other hand to pull off the glove, and you see that the tips of his fingers are beginning to purple and turn to a blackish hue. And he puts them as close to the fire as he dares, which is pretty damn close. And it doesn't seem to have a visible effect, but Johnson says, you know what, I think that's a little bit better. I feel a little bit warmer.
Can I make a Medicaid check to see if I need to cut those fingers off?
Well, Delta, the bad news is you are not anywhere near Johnson at the moment.
Oh, I thought that they would made it to the door.
we stayed behind. Remember that room where we killed that one guy with the 3 burning promethium tanks?
Oh, okay.
That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
3 fires and then my fire, and we're still dying out here.
Yeah.
I think it's a better idea if we just keep moving, Johnson. Karsef, help me grab him.
No, I think I should lead the way.
Okay.
All right, well, I guess I'll grab him and Edford pull Johnson away from the fire, and let's just keep going, letting Karsef lead the way.
Okay. So Johnson is definitely going to protest, like, no, we were warm here. No. And I'll say, he protests for another good 5-10 minutes, and then he just goes silent. He's not dead, but he's definitely not feeling it. And I would say you guys maybe get about halfway back when finally you come to the very same spot, at least Karseth will notice it's the same spot, where the whispers first started. And Biff, you're our lucky winner this time. So Biff, when you step through this area, what you hear is, I would say, something similar to your mother's voice, if you remember your mother's voice, that is. And what it means is, because I don't think we've ever really talked about your parental connections, so obviously take this as you think your character would.
Okay.
But your supposed mother's voice says, "Where did you go? We miss you so much. Why did you leave us all behind?"
Why did I leave you behind? Why did you leave me behind? I'll say out loud. Randomly, too.
Are you hearing the voices now, too?
Just the cold getting to my head. I'm just going to keep shrugging it off and just keep moving. I ain't got time for this.
Fret not, I heard them earlier, too, on my way to get to you. Fortunately for me, I am quite adept with dealing with the warp, and was able to ignore them. For the most part.
It's the warp? Thought it was just
It's my
cold
assumption.
getting to me.
It's my assumption. We do have a demonic artifact near us, inside of here with us. And, well, I don't trust demonic artifacts, believe it or not.
I mean, yeah, who does? Oh, right, the dead guys.
Meanwhile, while Group B is heading back to Group A, those of you in Group A, so Sister Rebecca and Delta, you're, sitting around, maybe sharing a few stories, getting to know each other, and all of a sudden there is a momentous crash from down the corridor, and immediately Fistbasha looks up from the tome that was reluctantly put on the ground. He looks up towards the source of the noise, and almost as if on instinct, he unholsters his Shuta and starts wandering in that direction.
I go, Fistbasha. Come back once you...
Sister, you should investigate.
Well... Alright, but I'm keeping him in front of me.
All right.
Two of you should investigate. I will remain here. Guard this barrel.
It must be defended.
All right, so Abeka and Fistbasha go off in the source of the noise, and I think what I'm going to do here is let's take our break here. That way I can actually draw up some sort of quick map for us to be looking at, because as much as I love Theater of the Mind, it can get confusing. So let's take we'll say a 10-minute break. So that would mean be back at about 9:50, please.
All right.
Great.
All right, BRB, everybody.
Be right back.
It's the quick map for when the orc and the guardsmen start attacking each other.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, well, I have finished drawing, and I am back, at least for those of you watching on Twitch and or YouTube. Again, thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me that someone besides my group is actually possibly having fun with my little game here. Just as a reminder, if you are subscribed via Twitch Prime, you do have to manually renew it every month. I know it's dumb, but that's not something I can control. I also looked into the whole gifting subs thing. It appears that if you gift a sub to someone, they can then sign on for like an actual, subscription of their own. And I think it only costs about $1. So they are actually saving a lot of money if they do that, but it's a Twitch thing to get people to buy more subs, which is a good thing, but well, what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So the other thing I wanted to say was that I do hope that this game continues on the long run. However, I am debating whether or not we could use a 6th. I'm currently on the fence about it, but basically if I do decide we need a 6th, I will open up applications again. And, I will tweet about it, I'll post it on the subreddit, etc., etc. But that's a decision for another day. So I think that's really all I had to say off screen. So I'll go ahead and unmute myself for everyone else. All right, and I'm back. Looks like we got about 2:30 left. Man, if Nelixon was here, he'd probably be able to give me some sort of waiting music. Guess I could try to throw something in real fast. Let's see. Oh, I suppose the problem is if I start trying to play these tracks to sample them, the stream's gonna hear it. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to figure out audio later. That's why we do the intermission screen, so people know.
I'm back.
Welcome back, Biff. How you doing?
Very good.
Hopefully have fun of it.
If I can survive frostbite, that'll be cool.
Yeah. And looking at the rules further, they really like some of these effects are like really. So for example, burning characters, they have to make a straight agility, and if they don't, then they take D3 mortal wounds, which means wounds that can't be reduced by anything.
Yeah, but at the same token, it's a lot of that's built on the premise that we were going to spend our glory like hot water.
Right.
You're also on fire.
This is also a fair argument.
Like, that's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But you know what? That's incentive not to be set on fire.
Oh, wow. And then I'm looking at radiation. Holy crap, you guys do not ever want to deal with radiation.
No, we do not. Who wants to be a chaos
never
god?
go near a space Hulk ever, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
You mean like the
I
one
get +3 against radiation. It's fine.
All right. Well, I see we're
Just
all
send
back.
me in.
Switches back over. All right. So, I've heard from everyone, so I switched you guys over to this map, and I'll describe what you're seeing as I zoom out a little bit here. So, as you can see, the data room is there. Biff, Johnson, and Karseth, you guys will be coming from the entrance, the top there, in a little bit. However, Fist Basha and Sister Rebecca, you have gone to the south and then hung a right to head towards the source of the noise. And after, a few more minutes of walking, or, we'll say 30 seconds of walking, maybe even half running down the corridor.
I didn't specify that the orc is in front of me, right?
You did now, so he is. Um, so you guys come to a plus shaped intersection. And Abeka, you have no problem seeing because you've got the fancy contacts. You pretty much just see corridors that seem to stretch on endlessly. Fistbasha, though, sort of just charges into the middle of this space, looks around, and looks back at you and says, "Oi, you goes that way, and I'll goes this way."
Which ways?
He would have pointed to the south and the north.
All right. I do that.
Okay. So he goes south, you go north. And, sister, you go for... I don't know, how far would you go for before maybe deciding to turn around, if at all?
Let's say 50 feet.
50 feet? Okay. So you could go a good 50 feet, and you're not really seeing anything. In fact, actually what you're seeing is that in the corridor before you is that, again, since you have the special lenses, you are seeing that the corridor has actually collapsed, probably another 20 to 30 meters ahead of you. So there's not really anywhere for things to hide except in the rubble, but that's what you're seeing at the moment.
All right. I turn around and start going back.
Okay. So you come back to the center of the intersection, no problem. It was just a straight corridor. However, you look down towards where Fistbasha was, and almost quite literally where his token is, which is the last place you saw him, there is now a pile of rubble.
And I didn't hear anything.
Nope.
Do I see anything to the east?
To the east, go ahead and roll me a DN3 awareness, please.
Okay.
All right.
Damn.
Would you like to re-roll that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and hit the little blue button there, and it'll do it for you. Hey, there you go. There's 3 in here.
Okay.
So, again, you notice something strange. Where once was a clear passageway, there is another sort of quote-unquote cave-in, probably a good 10 meters in. Again, wasn't there when you came to this intersection, and you didn't hear anything.
All right. I'm gonna hate. I'm almost afraid to look, but I'm gonna look to the west, where I came from.
Okay, you look to the west, and mostly for my own sake and also for the amusement of others, what would you say is Sister Rebecca's greatest fear?
Oh, okay.
Can I use a narrative declaration, Sister Rebecca?
Sure, go for it.
Her greatest fear is losing a strip poker to Biff, who's been trying for months to get her to play.
You know, it's good, but I'm gonna have to go with demons.
Any specific kind of demons?
Nurgle demons.
Alrighty. So you look to the west where you came from, and you see, probably with absolute terror, that sort of like bubbling bulbous masses, these green-like shapes of what are unmistakably Nurglings, are sort of rolling and bouncing up the corridor towards you. And they make a hideous slopping noise as they hit the deck each time, and it's the sight of them is just unnerving, if not, shaking you to the core. And I need you to roll me a fear test at this point. Except I have to remember how to actually do a fear test. Where did I put it in my notes? Let's see. course, if anyone knows what page fear is on, feel free to butt in. Fear. No, that's interaction attacks. Off the top of my head, I think it's resolve. But
I have it on my thing. It's on page 231.
231, thank you. Alright, when a character encounters something that causes fear, they must pass a fear test by rolling their resolve. Success allows them to act normally during their turn. If the test is failed, this suffers a DN +1 penalty when attacking and interacting with the source of the fear. Okay, does it give me a nice chart of fear? It does not appear to, unless I'm missing it.
No, it's just by individual profile. Like the demons have fear 2 or 3, I believe.
Ah, well, then let us consult the Holy Bestiary and see what that says. Let's see. Chaos Threats, page 419. Just need a basic fear rating. Alright, fear... I'm not going to make it a 7. There's no way. Let's make it a DN3.
And I'm rolling resolve?
That is correct, yes.
Ah.
All right, would you care? Do you have any wrath points left to re-roll that?
Where exactly is the wrath points?
So the wrath points, let me double check your tokens.
We all begin with 2 every session.
Yeah.
Oh, then yes, I still have 1.
All right, let me, I'll edit it after the game, but I'll add it to your tokens so you guys can keep track of it earlier. Or easier. But yeah.
Okay, but I will re-roll that.
All right, then what you're going to do is hit that blue button, and I guess you get exactly what you need. So, Sister Rebecca, for a moment, your legs lock up, like your entire body tenses as you deal with this unholy sight. But then you realize something. You look harder at the image, and you realize that it's just that, an image. And you realize this because these demons, these abominations, parts of them are coming through the wall itself. And last you checked, though demons are, not exactly bound to mortal laws, this is almost like someone is projecting a hologram or some form of psychic illusion and is doing a very poor job of it.
Okay. Then, and they're still coming at me, right?
No. Actually, when you begin to think and see through the illusion, they begin to fade and fade until empty corridor once more.
All right. I'd like to vox the rest of the group.
Okay. Rest of the group, you do hear this.
I go, boys, we've got ourselves a situation. Someone's sending me images. False images. They aren't real. They're not physical. But they can be damn convincing. So, keep a heads up, I guess. Didn't catch that.
Are these warp-based or technological?
I can't tell at the moment. But I'm going to keep checking. And in the meantime, we may have lost Fist Blaster. Smasher.
Basha. Whatever.
Basha.
The orc.
We may have lost the orc. And I'd like to go back to where the orc went and check out that rock pile more closely.
Okay. Let me just hastily scribble some rubble for you so I'm able to what you're dealing with. All right, so that orange squiggle is the rubble.
Okay.
And you go up to it. Do you touch it? Do you poke it? What do you do with it?
I'd like to poke it with my bolter.
Okay. You poke it and seems solid.
All of it?
All of it.
All right, then I'll go back up and go north and do the same.
Okay. Same thing. It is a solid wall of rubble.
And then to the east.
Same thing.
All right, then I will head back.
Okay. And as you go, sister, you hear something behind you, and you're not sure, but it might be the sound of an orc screaming. You've never really heard an orc scream before, at least not in the way this one might be.
Uh-huh. Karaseth, we lost your orc.
All right, I'm back. Sorry. So the last thing I heard was that Fist might not be with us anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also the newest thing, too.
He has gone AWOL.
And we heard a orc scream.
Or you're not watching him?
Am I
Yeah,
back
I'm
in that
watching
group?
him. He's in the room with me, right?
No. The
What?
orc left with Sister Rebecca to check out the
Oh,
sound
right.
of the...
You went off to investigate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I go, well, okay. We split up to search more ground, which is always a mistake, but, hey. And when I turned around, his path was blocked by a cave-in of some kind. And I just heard, I don't know, like a wah, but like a high-pitched wah, like a wee, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Like a squeal.
Like a squig when you step on it.
So all in all, I don't think the chances are high that we're getting the orc back.
A shame.
My bad.
He seemed like he could be useful. Indeed, it is your bad. However, we will have to simply make do with the current situation. How we will handle the book now, however, is a much tougher situation.
I do still have my 10-foot pole.
And just to make things easier at this point, during this conversation, Sister Rebecca, you come to the south. Johnson, Biff, and Karaseth, you come from the north. And it's only literally a stone's throw away for you to join everyone in the data room.
Yeah,
I guess we
so.
do.
Yeah, we'll join them. I'm gonna drag Private Johnson with us.
Okay?
I
So-
can't move his token.
Yeah, I gotcha. So Johnson, upon seeing the burning barrel of the room, goes over to it and almost literally dumps his hand into the flames, but he catches himself before he burns off his digits. But by now you can tell that his fingers, or at least a couple of his fingers, are jet black. Like, there's probably no saving them.
Don't worry, Johnson will get you new fingers. Better fingers. Right, Delta?
Of course.
Metal fingers.
All right. So I get this. I guess at this point, the question is, what is your play from here? Or shall we skip ahead a bit to the next stuff?
We just gotta wait. We just gotta wait out the storm,
Okay.
I go, okay, but there is some serious hijinks going on in this ship. So has anybody seen anything that might be weird? At all?
I've heard some things.
Yeah, me too. Were yours whispers about your past?
More indistinct than that.
Okay.
Impersonal and the like.
Anybody else?
No, it's just a cold. Biff is gonna say, denied it ever happened.
The stress must be getting to you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look you over.
I am as stress-free as ever.
I cannot
Can you
rule
do
it
that
out
from a
from mental
distance?
effect. Go ahead, sorry.
Can I roll insight
Sure,
on people?
you could.
Okay. See, I don't want to specifically target out Delta, but does that mean I'd have to do everybody?
How do I want to do this?
For what? To see if I'm lying
Yeah.
about it being possible that you're hallucinating.
No, about finding a murder room.
Oh, no, you're not going to be able to meta that with thing. Nope.
Yeah.
I haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, hasn't mentioned it at all.
Well, I guess about the has anyone seen anything out of the ordinary?
Oh. Still, it's not something you'd be able to pick up on.
It's
Yeah,
also
alright.
not something that out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, conceivably for a Skitari, seeing that sort of a room, I imagine there's similar ones in the Mechanicus Spire.
Yeah, I would just shrug and be like, it's a servitor creation room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to mention, he's probably unable to tell from facial expressions since he's wearing all that metal bits and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I look at you actually concerned, and I say, "Can I examine you to see if there's perhaps some mental illness you're suffering from?"
I'm concerned as to what examine entails. I'm not partial to a lobotomy.
I'll help you, Biff says out loud.
So the brain has to remain inside.
See, already,
Karaseth is just gonna
Apprehensive.
give
A joke.
just
A joke.
a look.
Please.
you know what? I'm good.
I just need to shine a light in your eyes. Make sure you're following the light properly. Make sure you haven't gotten a concussion or something.
All right, sure.
Typical medical procedure.
All right, I'll let him do that.
So basically, I'm going to do the same thing that I would do to heal shock on that on the person to see if maybe the shock, just shock is getting to them. Make sure they're not dying of thermia, check all their vitals and things like that.
Okay. I feel like this should be like a DN1 or a 2. So, hell, let's make it a 1.
Okay.
Well, you got 2, which is all you need.
That's a lot of dice and not a lot of success. But
You are insane.
Yeah. Good news. They don't appear to be insane. Bad news. As you work on her, everyone else, or at least anyone who's not devoting their attention to this scene, so I think at least Karseth and Sarame, Biff, I'm gonna let you be the decider whether you do see this or not. But in the wall next to the tome, so this wall here, it's almost as if the metal begins to dent inward, and it's like a great beast begins to claw and scrape across the surface, leaving behind a massive gash, and it is completely silent.
I think Biff's going to notice it, but then just shake his head and pretend like it's not happening.
So you shake your head, try to say, this isn't happening, and unfortunately, it's there. This gash is now, I would say, longer than you are tall.
Nope, turning my back to it.
Well, the good news, sisters, you are not suffering from sort of concussion or mental illness that I can decipher with the limited tools here.
I'm not sure how reassuring that is, considering it means that there's something else acting on me.
These space hulks tend to pick up quite a number of interesting objects along the way. We should not remain in here for much longer.
Not the
The
adjective I'd
storm
use.
sort of limits us. It could be some chemical in the air that's causing you to hallucinate. Has left your system already. It could be any of those things.
All right. Well, I guess I'll stay on my guard. Right, everybody? Just gonna chill here and tell more campfire stories and break out the s'mores.
All right. And with
Maybe
that,
if Sister Rebecca would lead us in a hymn, we would be more willing to remain.
All right. I'd like
Raise
to
our spirits.
I'd like to lead them in an improvised hymn of the praise his light and the protecting of us not freezing our fucking balls off.
That's a great hymn.
it's a good hymn. I love it.
From Simia Orichalcae.
Oh, God. All right, so as this hymn happens, I do want everyone to roll me the second to last toughness test here. So I thought about it, and I do want to say at this point the storm has been raging for such a period of time that the temperature has dropped another 20 degrees centigrade. So I think it's probably fair for it to be a 3 for you guys at this point.
That's
Okay, so Sister Rebecca's fine, Delta's fine, Karseth has
I'm
no
dead.
problem.
I'm dead.
You're gonna take some mortal wounds. That's fine.
All right. So Biff, since you were already exhausted, oh, that's right, you re-rolled. All right. So then, Karseth, you are now considered exhausted, and narratively, what that means is, I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, you sometimes go out into the depths of space, but it's a different kind of cold. This cold is piercing. It is like someone has slipped a wraith bone beneath your skin and caused it to drain away every single ounce of heat from you. It is the most unnerving and perhaps undesirable feeling you have probably felt in a very long time. And to make matters worse, not specifically for you, Karseth, but it is at this point that Biff, you hear another set of voices. This one's different, though. This one isn't of your mother. It is, I would say, of a neutral voice. You're not able to tell if it's male or female. And it's a very level tone. It doesn't really emphasize or otherwise put certain emphasis on words. Almost like it's a mechanical type voice saying things. And what it says is, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up. And this continues until you say or do something.
I'm going to say out loud, acknowledging the voice. From where? Where? And I'm start looking around crazily.
All right, so all of you see this.
I'm gonna just, have my bolter in my hands. If it was, put aside, I'm just gonna pick it up again and be like, "Hey, Biff, what's going on?"
You say that to Biff, and he's already got his arc pistol in his hand. It's getting primed, and he's looking around frantically, like he's panicking at this point. You heard that, right?
No, but I'm pretty sure you heard it. What did it say?
Pick me up.
Before you go.
But I'm not scared.
Well, I don't know. Do I have to roll anything to think that probably means the book?
I mean, I'm going to let you decide that yourself. I don't think it would be a test per se.
Well, yeah. I think Sister Rebecca is gonna make the connection and look over at the book.
Alright.
Is the giant gash in the wall still there?
Oh yeah.
I go, holy shit! How long has that been there?
About 10 minutes.
What the fuck?
The pressure from outside must be causing the spaces between the walls to collapse.
Okay, or, and just a hypothetical here, something really enormous clawed its way through the wall and then left. Okay, that's not super likely, but still,
There's no
why did
evidence of that.
why did none of us hear this?
So Biff, you move over to the tome.
The wall could have been weak from years of mistreatment. Obviously.
Biff, what's up?
Biff, you're gonna pick up the book. All right, let me find where I put
Yep.
them in my notes. All right, so Biff, as you get closer and closer to the book, the voices get louder, and it actually starts to adopt almost an encouraging tone. And you reach down, you pick up the book, and
If the knowledge is not for you.
Real quick, I just want to say I'm going to pick it up with my left hand and point my arc pistol to its cover with my right hand and scream out loud, drawing everyone's attention. Stop fucking with me.
Okay. So you do that, and as you say that, Biff, the voices stop. Or at least at first. There's a, I would call it an awkward silence that everyone's just looking at you nervously. And then there begins a whisper. And it says, "Open me. Open me. Open me."
Oh, I'll fucking open you, and I'm going to pull the trigger on my arc pistol at it.
Okay. So, out of curiosity, do you just like open and fire? Do you open, look and see what's inside, and then fire? You know, what's the order of operations here?
Just going to raise it up, fire it against the wall towards away from everyone else.
Yeah, I don't think he's opening it at all. I think he's just shooting the cover.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is if you
Yes, confirming, not opening, just shooting the cover.
are okay. Go ahead and roll me a DN4 ballistic skill test or whatever your weapon is based on. And again, there's a reason why it's a DN4 for a book, and you might find out soon.
Got it.
All right, you hit it. Go ahead and let's see the damage on your arc pistol.
And I believe I can actually pocket that for glory, too.
Let's see. Yes, you can shift that exalted for a point of glory. Or for extra damage. Many options here.
Nah, I'm going to go ahead and just pocket it for glory so our team can have more points.
Okay. All right, damage rating 14. Very nice.
14 AP1.
All right, so, unlike the past attempts, well, with the Agonizer Whip anyway, this time there is a noticeable effect, and by that I mean everybody is going to hear and feel this. The book screams. And Karseth, it sounds exactly like the scream you had heard in the hallway, the one that came from right behind you. Everyone else, just imagine the most blood-curdling, yet somehow familiar and thus more ominous scream coming from this book. And the scream goes on and on and on, and it does not seem to be decreasing in volume. In fact, it seems to be getting louder.
I'm gonna clutch my ears and go, "Throne on Earth, hit it again!"
I assume I can't do that just yet.
Well, I mean, you could if you wanted. Just tell me. We're not in
Just want-
combat, per se.
Did anyone else want to interject first before I just do it again?
I'm more in shock than anything.
Do it.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm assuming the book went flying out of my hands, right?
No, it's still pinned there against the wall if you so let it.
All right. I'm going to fire again then.
Okay, so don't roll this time since we already know what the damage is going to be. 1 would not make a difference here, neither would a 2, so 14 is what the magic number is. You fire again with your arc pistol, and this time the book begins to literally disintegrate. And as the ashes or particulate of it begin to drift through the corridor down towards the deck plating, you see that strangely, while every single part of the book save 1 page drops to the floor, this 1 page that remains stays floating midair. And I would say, Biff, because you are close enough to it, this will mean a corruption test from you. A corruption test, if I remember correctly, is a DN3 against your conviction. And you have the option of spending a wrath point to decrease the DN by 1.
I'd just like to interject.
Sure.
I have the Purity of Faith ability that adds my rank to corruption checks to allies within 15 meters and line of sight.
All right, so there you go.
I'm not quite sure what my rank is.
Should be 1 at the moment.
Okay.
So, how does that work?
So you get +1 to the check.
Oh, +1 BD, and I'll use 1 wrath to lower it by 1.
Okay, so your DN here is a 2. All right. Hey, look at that. You guys get another point of glory even. All right. So yeah, Biff, you feel something worming its way into your skull, but you use your sheer willpower to force out the invasive force. And after a moment, the pressure subsides, as does the horrendous shouting and screaming. And you see, Biff, again, because you're closest, that the page that is remained floating in midair, it has writing on it. And I'm going to now give you a handout. Just gotta figure out which player are you. Messiah, you're playing Biff, right?
Yep.
All right. There you go. You should now have a handout right below group notes. And I'm going to let you decide what you do with this information. If you choose to share it to the others, I can obviously give everybody else a chance to look at it. But just let me know what you want to do with it.
Oh, I'm definitely going to share the information. So you can go ahead and the way Biff is going to do that, I'm assuming I can go just grab the paper.
Yeah, you can just pick it up and it feels like normal paper.
All right, I'm not going to narrate it, but Biff is going to grab the paper and start reading it off to you guys.
Okay. So everybody now should be able to see the portion of it. And for those at home watching on the stream or on YouTube, I'll go ahead and show it for you guys. Hopefully that's readable. If not, my apologies. But yeah, that is what the remaining page has on it.
Well, that doesn't sound good. However, it doesn't seem that he was able to cast this ritual. There was, after all, only one orc that we observed.
True. That we observed.
Ritual, huh?
Still, though, the sender of this letter is what worries me. It confirms that he was not working alone and was more of a stooge than a leader.
The question is, do we get here before the ritual can be completed? Or are the orcs on their way?
Well, the orcs were on their way.
I mean, there was two ships. That doesn't mean that that wasn't like an invasion fleet.
Well, I don't know. I think the Chaos Fleet is the invasion fleet. The orcs were just there to distract them.
Possible. We should take this back to the governor as soon as we can.
Honestly, I'm mainly just shocked that we didn't try shooting the book in the first place.
It is but an object.
Well, I mean, with hindsight, it was not. But yeah, good on you, Biff. Good on you.
Good old Iron Skull never lets me down.
All right.
So, has the storm still going at this point, right?
Yeah, and instead of having you guys roll again, I'm just going to say at this point, the groaning of metal that you're hearing in the distance begins to lessen. So it's probably safe to assume that the storm is petering down. So it's just a matter of now going out and assessing the damage.
Can I examine the giant gaping tear in the wall?
You certainly can. Is there anything in particular you want to know about it?
Does it look like it was made by like an organic source, or like a creature rather than the cold?
I don't want to say this.
I'm trying to think of how to like. Does it look like the metal around has buckled at all?
I would say it looks more natural, like an actual beast caused this. It's not something the cold could have caused.
Okay. I'm gonna keep that one to myself.
Okay.
But are we good to head back to the Rhino? Guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should send a stream to have a light over to us.
There's no way that rhino survived this storm.
Yeah, I assume we're going to get up there. The rhino's pretty much toast, and then we just wait for that artist from Charlie the Fifth.
All right, well, let's head out and check it out.
Okay.
Remember, we also have that ship waiting for us the moment the storm clears up.
True, but we should, like, now that the storm has stopped, we should, I don't know, get a better understanding of where we stand. Do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, should we send communication at least? Attempt to?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, about the chaos involvement with the invasion.
Yeah, we should probably tell someone.
Just in case, don't want to get ambushed later with random stuff.
Hmm.
Or at least let Harlock know.
Yeah, I think we should let Harlock know, but, maybe sit on that information until we can figure out if anyone else in the government is corrupt.
We should go up to Harlock, meet with her, see what she says.
So we're not voxing it in, we're going to meet her in person?
The ship's
Boxes
already
can't
waiting.
be intercepted.
Yeah, and the ship's already waiting for us, so it's just we can just go ahead and take it.
Okay.
All right. So, the group of you start to head out of the Hulk and towards the exit. And as you probably can expect, you are seeing wears and tears of the storm even this far into the structure. And eventually you come to the entrance of the facility. And sure enough, the Rhino definitely has seen better days. If I had to use an analogy, I'd say imagine Swiss cheese. And that's what the Rhino looks like. It is certainly salvageable. I mean, it's probably going to take some tech priests, maybe a month of percussive maintenance to fix it, but it is repairable. It just will take quite a bit of time. And as you sort of, take in the Rhino, inspect it, try to salvage whatever you can, you do get a ring on your Vox. And it is the pilot of the shuttle. And they say, this is Spear of Destiny Niner. Please confirm you are ready for pickup.
Confirmed.
Understood. Beginning descent now. And assumedly, as you step out into the actual surface of Valhalla, you see that the entire landscape has changed. There is just an enormous amount of ice chunks that have been strewn across the wilderness, and that there's just a massive amount of snow that has been flung about and formed into drifts. However, you look up and you see a twinkling light, almost like a shooting star, and you realize as the star angles towards you that this is your shuttle. And it becomes closer and closer and closer, and you see that it is another Aquila lander. And it comes to comes to a stop right above you. Well, off to the side, so it's not going to squish you. Comes to a stop and begins vertically lowering itself down to the ground. And actually, I think this is where I want to end the session, because anything past this, I'd really like to have everyone here for.
Good idea.
All right.
But yeah, of course, thank you guys so much for putting up with me. And again, I appreciate feedback on whether tests were too hard or not. We're all learning. So players, if you can stick around for a little bit longer, but I will be ending the stream at this point. So anyone watching on Twitch or YouTube, thank you so much. And you guys have a good evening. Bye-bye.